Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Happy to take your questions.
Thank you very much. We are going to start in the room here. One question, one follow-up, starting with Richard Zussman, Global News.
What message do you hope it sends to British Columbians removing Adrian Dix from health and moving him to energy?
Well, I hope it sends the message that the energy file is so critically important for our province's economic future. Both the combination of responding to the challenge of climate change with our low-carbon electricity, but also the job creation that it represents. People can see right now across North America the demand for clean electricity has never been higher, whether it's because of AI or hydrogen or existing operations like mining want to decarbonize. I need someone who can deliver, and Adrian is that minister. It is critically important for our government, and I'm very hopeful that he's able to bring this across the line for British Columbians.
Follow-up?
Do you hope to send any message about healthcare by making this change? Was there anything that you heard at the doorstep around healthcare that made you make this change? And were there other things that you heard at the doorstep around public safety that made you make the change there and, in essence, put Gary Begg and Terry Young into that portfolio to do what was being done by Mike Furnorth?
Well, I hope British Columbians see in this cabinet an experienced team that's going to be focused on the priorities they sent us to Victoria to address. That includes healthcare, making sure that every British Columbian has access to a family doctor, that we address the issue of emergency room closures, especially in rural and remote communities. Those are big and challenging issues right across Canada. We've made some good ground on those under Adrian, and Josie's going to continue that critically important work. And it includes things like public safety. You know, you see now we have not one, but two former police officers with experience on the ground in the public safety ministry, tasked with ensuring that we're delivering safe communities. That's safe both in terms of just how people feel in their communities. That's safe from issues like gangs and organized crime, but it's also safety for the people who are struggling in our street. Terry Young's assignment to couple up community safety with integrated services to make sure that when people are in crisis, that the services are there that law enforcement can draw on, or that avoid the necessity for law enforcement to respond. He's able to bring that frontline VPD experience to that, and he has a constituency that will keep him focused on that issue right in downtown Vancouver.
Next question, Katie DeRosa, CBC.
Premier, can you speak to your rationale for Brenda Bailey as finance minister? She's obviously inheriting a large deficit, and how quickly will she be rolling out the grocery rebate? Will that be before the budget?
Yeah, we've been clear with British Columbians. We're going to ensure sustainable finances going forward, but we won't do it at their expense. We know families are struggling right now. This is a time when people need support. And Brenda's job is an important and a critical one. She brings experience from the private sector. She's an entrepreneur. She had her own firm in tech. She worked with the tech sector for many years. She was our Minister for Jobs and Economic Development. And she has the talent, the experience to bring the growth in our economy to support the social programs that we want to have to deliver for British Columbians. We'll ensure declining deficits over time. That was our commitment to British Columbians. And that is something we remain committed to. And we also remain committed to that middle income tax cut for British Columbians, ensuring that they have more money at the end of the day as they see the impacts of global inflation and still high interest rates taking money out of their bottom line at the end of the month.
What does it say about the fact that the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions is no longer a standalone? Is that an acknowledgement that the public was not on board with decriminalization and some of the safe harm reduction measures?
No, not at all. It's about the challenge and the critical importance of delivering infrastructure related to mental health and addiction treatment centers, detox centers, the kind of infrastructure we need across the province through a ministry that was separate from the Ministry of Health. So in order to ensure that we're able to deliver in the toxic drug crisis, putting it back into the Ministry of Health, having representation in caucus dedicated to ensure that those voices are heard, a parliamentary secretary for mental health and addiction, and also focus on making sure that we're building out that core network of supports for people that includes law enforcement, that includes physicians, that includes nurses, that includes counselors, so that we're able to provide the support for people struggling with addiction. There's no question that British Columbians sent us back to Victoria to do this work with a narrow majority. I think one of the issues absolutely was the toxic drug crisis and the impact on our streets. And I hope they see with this cabinet that we take that very seriously, and we're going to continue and redouble our work to keep people safe from death due to overdose, and also to keep communities safe and ensure that people feel comfortable in their downtown cores.
Next, we have Rob Buffum, CTV News.
Thank you. I wanted to get your reaction. I mean, one of the other challenges that's been identified is how few MLAs you have outside of the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island. There was only 3 cabinet ministers appointed from outside of that area. Why not more? Why not, for example, Harwinder Sandhu from Vernon? Or why was it only 3 out of 5?
Yeah, we have an amazing group of MLAs. They're exceptionally talented. Every one of them has a very specific role I've given them, an assignment to deliver for British Columbians. The voices of MLAs that represent rural communities will be critically important, but you'll see that I created a very specific role, a dedicated minister who will work with my office, Minister of State for Rural Communities and Local Government, Brittany Anderson, to make sure that that voice is at the cabinet table. There's a minister that is focused on ensuring the voice of rural British Columbians is heard in our government. I know we have to be a government for all British Columbians, and I know that rural British Columbians have been facing the major challenges in a very acute way around healthcare, the toxic drug crisis, and other impacts in ways that are different than big cities and urban areas of our province. So making sure that voice is at the table is going to be absolutely critical, and that's why Brittany's there. But it's also something I'm expecting all of our MLAs to take on, not just those from rural communities.
Can you speak to the importance, I guess, to you of having 16 of these MLAs, or cabinet ministers, I should say, are women, the importance of that? And I also wanted to get your reaction to Nikki Sharma seemed to have a very loud reaction, a lot of support for that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, when I was building this team, the focus was on ministers who were going to be able to deliver for British Columbians. I'm incredibly proud of the fact that our team does include MLAs who are majority women as part of a parliament that for the first time in the province's history is majority women. And I think that there are some remarkable and strong women in some key cabinet roles that are really going to deliver for British Columbians. These ministers behind me and all of the MLAs are going to be delivering for British Columbians on their priorities, and I'm excited that they're also making history.
Next, we have Rob Shaw, Check News.
Premier, how do your ministers know what to do without mandate letters? And why hold off on those? What are you hoping to add here that we're not seeing today with a deal with the Greens?
Thanks, Rob. I've been really clear about what the priorities are for every single minister. It's around supporting British Columbians with affordability, including in relation to housing. It's supporting British Columbians with a healthcare system that's strong and there when they need it in those moments of crisis. It's about making sure that communities are strong and safe and that we're growing the economy in a way that everybody feels it in our province. That is the consistent set of priorities for every single minister. For the detailed mandate letters, we're making sure to do 2 things. One is to listen to and prioritize British Columbians and their voices. We were sent here certainly with a majority government, but it's a narrow majority. And we're going to work with all British Columbians to ensure that we're delivering for them on these key priorities. The second is we are absolutely in discussions with the Green Party and making sure that we're working with other MLAs. We don't pretend to have all the answers or the best path forward. And so making sure that that's a meaningful discussion as we set out the path for our government going forward for the next 4 years means that we're ensuring that the commitments that we make to other MLAs are in mandate letters and are delivered on by ministries.
Follow up.
Could you explain the infrastructure ministry and what does a dedicated ministry do in terms of doing things faster on procurement? It looks like there's a significant component on building schools. What's the thinking there?
Thanks. This is a really a vital ministry. Our government is building a lot across the province right now. Everything from healthcare in relation to hospitals, urgent primary care centers, treatment centers, education, high schools and grade schools across the province, transit systems and roads. We need to do a couple of things. One is make sure that we're doing this in a way that doesn't increase our costs, so we're not bidding up against ourselves when it comes to delivering major projects. We're delivering these projects in a way that makes sense, that's staged, that people who are bidding can see that when they finish one project, they can go right into the next project, that it's timelines that make sense. The second is standardization. I think there is a significant opportunity when it comes to the schools in the province. The demand is massive in communities like Surrey, south of the Fraser, with huge population growth. We have to build more schools faster. Having each school be unique and distinct and different building brings advantages to communities, but it also slows things down and potentially makes it more expensive to deliver the same school. So finding those opportunities around standardization that's going to speed up delivery, ensure cost control, but also deliver high quality facilities for British Columbians. These are all key jobs, and I couldn't have a better minister than Bowen Ma to take this on. She's an engineer. Her background is in major project delivery. She worked at Vancouver Airport doing that work before she came into government. She will bring that project planning perspective and a cross-government eye to project delivery to ensure we're hitting timelines and budgets, reducing costs, and delivering for British Columbians.
Next, we have Justine Hunter, Globe and Mail.
Hi, Premier. I think you said in there that you were going to be making an effort to bring people along, and I'm wondering if that's a bit of a comment on your past 2 years as Premier. Was that something you didn't do especially well?
I'm always reflecting on how I can do better and how I can ensure I'm representing British Columbians, but the message that I took from the election and the narrow majority was that people wanted us to get on with this work, but they also wanted us to consider other perspectives. And I think that the numbers present a challenge politically, but they actually present an opportunity in terms of governance for the province. I am willing to work with all British Columbians. Our team is willing to work with all British Columbians to deliver on these key challenges. They are not simple challenges. And the commitment that I made on the stage and the speech today, as well here, is to do my best. Our team will do our best to bring all British Columbians along as we take on these serious challenges.
Follow up?
Again, on public safety, your new minister will be asked to do something different than what has been going on for the last few years. I'm just wondering if you can elaborate. Do you see more policing? What do you see him doing differently that we haven't been doing?
Well, I think that the difference, I'm profoundly grateful. Mike Farmer served as public safety minister for the better part of 7 years, and got the Surrey policing transition, incredibly challenging file across the line, responded to guns and gangs with expansions around the laboratory for the RCMP, delivered expansions of support for additional RCMP officers in rural communities across the province. What we need now to build on that work, especially around the public safety challenges we face, is to be able to incorporate the frontline officer experience with the services that we're delivering for British Columbians to respond to crisis, and with a whole of government approach to organized crime. I think there are significant opportunities that we've already started to deliver on in terms of our anti-money laundering program to go after organized crime through the civil side as well as the criminal side. You'll see us expanding some of that work. In terms of community safety, street disorder, issues like that, we know we're not going to be able to arrest our way out of that problem. So ensuring that frontline police officers have access to the healthcare and crisis support programs that are there to address those public safety issues, and that they're actually meaningful and that they provide a difference on the street. Having Terry's perspective and Gary's perspective and how we integrate those things as former frontline police officers is going to be absolutely vital. So it's not just police, it's not just social service programs, it's actually how these things work together to get us out of this major crisis that's afflicting not just British Columbia, but communities across North America.
Next, we have Les Lane, Times columnist.
Well, thank you. Premier, most new governments get the swearing in and they have a reasonable expectation of 4 years ahead of them. And this one is so much more tenuous. You joked about it during the speech about Election BC updates. How does the extremely narrow margin and the uncertainty of this thing influence your kind of attitude to this term? Are you going to kind of swear them in and barrel ahead and hope for the best, or is it going to change your outlook from how you've governed in the past?
Well, the reality of the results that British Columbians delivered to us was the opportunity to serve as a majority government, which I'm grateful for. But it's a very narrow majority. And so the second piece of the message was work with other MLAs, work with British Columbians on these big challenges. And so that's what you'll see from us. We're willing to work with all British Columbians on this to ensure that we're delivering for them. We're in intense conversations with the Greens about how we can work with that party. And the vision here is what British Columbians' vision was, as I understand it, which is a parliament that works for them, that delivers on these priorities. They're not interested in the politics. What they're interested in is the lived experience in their lives on these big problems and the challenges that they're facing. And that's what we're going to stay focused on. And we're going to do it over the next 4 years.
Follow up?
You said you're in discussions with the Greens still, but it's been a month. Do you have any kind of handshake deal or firm understanding of any kind of arrangement to give you the cushion you need through this probationary term?
Yeah, we're in conversations with the Greens is the best I can do on that, Les. And what I can tell you is we're putting up our speaker and we're moving ahead. But we're engaging in good faith with the Greens and with all British Columbians, listening to their priorities on these serious challenges.
Next, we have Wolf Deppner, Black Press.
Yes, thank you for taking my question, Premier. I'm going to engage in a little bit of Monday afternoon quarterbacking. You essentially pulled the 8-year starter from the health ministry and replaced.
Sorry, Wolf. I pulled which?
Sorry, you essentially pulled the 8-year starter from the health ministry and
sports metaphor.
Yeah, sports metaphor. That's
gotcha.
right.
Yeah.
And replaced him with a rookie. What sort of message does that send? Considering how tenuous your situation is, why wouldn't you want to keep one of your most experienced ministers in a portfolio that you consider to be among the most important?
Well, I think that for me, looking at the current global situation, what's happening in the United States, what's happening with major trading partners, the British Columbia's economy, the pressure that is going to be felt here in Canada and in our province on our economy and our growth is going to be huge. And we're going to have to deliver on that. I need an experienced minister that's able to deliver in terms of the huge opportunity that's in front of us, which is our clean electricity advantage here in British Columbia, both in generating electricity to sell to the United States and Alberta, generating electricity at low cost for major industrial customers like hydrogen producers and others. This creates jobs, it's low carbon, it creates growth in our economy, it's part of a very clear and significant opportunity going forward. So the message about putting an experienced minister like Adrian into that role is that this could not be more important on the economic side for our province. For Josie, putting her into the Ministry of Health, she is a highly capable minister. She is able to deliver, she learns quickly, and she comes from a smaller community. She's one of the MLAs that comes from a smaller community in our province. Her constituency includes a number of rural and remote communities. And ensuring that perspective is there in the Ministry of Health is something she's going to bring as a strength to that role because that is an area where we face challenges right now, ensuring that we're able to deliver healthcare to the level that people expect right across the province. So I'm incredibly excited that Adrian has agreed to take this role on to help grow our economy, and that Josie's been willing to step into the daunting role of taking on the Ministry of Health. And Adrian will be there to support Josie in this role going forward. It's not like he's going anywhere. And Josie will be there to support Adrian with the work that's happened in the Ministry of Energy as well as he works to redouble our efforts there.
Follow up?
Yes, thank you. You talked about your discussions with the Greens. As we just heard, they've been going on for about a month or so. How much of this cabinet reflects perhaps implicit demands from the Greens when it comes to the personnel? If policy is personnel, if the Greens want your government to go in a certain direction, I wouldn't be surprised if they've made some personnel demands. Can you sort of talk about that relationship between policy demands by the BC Greens and the people who are standing behind you?
Sure. I built this team independent of the discussions with the Greens, but I'm glad to see that there were members of the Green Party that were here today at the ceremony. I think it reflects the spirit of our discussions that we're going to be working together on a going forward basis.
Next, we have Andrew McLeod from the Tyee.
Yeah, hi, Premier. In the past, you had housing as a standalone ministry. You've combined it today with municipal affairs. I'm wondering if you could explain the reasoning on that, please.
Absolutely. The connection between our ability to deliver housing and the rules that municipalities have to work under has never been clearer, I think, for both British Columbians and certainly for me, thanks to the work and advocacy of our housing minister, Ravi Kahlon. Ravi's work on housing has been recognized across North America and celebrated as certainly Canada's leading housing program, but perhaps one of the most aggressive housing programs to deliver affordable housing for British Columbians in North America. I'm very proud of the work that he's done. But one of the big challenges has been ensuring that the rules that govern municipalities and local governments are consistent with our housing goals. Putting those together in the same ministry reflects that they are directly linked. And the other piece is we need to ensure that we're hearing those local government voices as well. Having a Minister of State who's dedicated to representing rural communities and local governments ensures that we have now actually two ministers that are taking on that relationship with local governments, ensuring that we have the rules that are going to deliver the housing, but also the relationships that are going to be able to ensure that it's for the long term.
Follow-up?
Sure, and it's a bit of a backward-looking question, but you went into the election with 6 or 7 cabinet ministers who weren't running again. There were people, backbenchers who didn't win an election who might have benefited from the profile. In hindsight, was it a mistake to not shuffle the cabinet ahead of the election?
I think that there were a large number of various suggestions that have been made to me about how we could have run things differently. I'm grateful for the opportunity for the British Columbians have given us in a time when people around the world are chucking incumbent governments, that they've given us the chance to come back and take on these hard problems. But I also accept with humility the message that they sent. This is a narrow majority. I understand that they want us to work with other perspectives, with other MLAs in the House, with all British Columbians in addressing these serious issues, and we're going to do that.
Thank you, and that's all the time that we have for today.
Great. Thanks very much, everybody.